What are you talking about? Ooh.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs, located in the heart of the walkable Tarpon Springs Historic District and known as the home of the Innes paintings. We are a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. I'm Reverend Christina Spouty, minister here of UUCTS. I'm glad you are here. I hope that you find meaning in today's service. Please consider joining us on a Sunday morning when we gather to worship as a community every week beginning at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom, or drop in for a more personal visit to one of our coffee hours starting at 11:30 on Sundays on Zoom. If you are new to the area or just learning about Unitarian Universalism, we'd love to meet you in one of our newcomer discussions, which are held on the second Sunday of each month at 12:15. Please refer to our website for information about how to connect with us on Zoom. Our service associate will now begin today's service. Let us enter this sacred time with open minds and open hearts.
Hello, welcome to our virtual service. I'm so glad you were able to meet with us today. My name is Barbara Rosen, and I'm privileged to be your service associate. Our good friend, Reverend Jim Macomber, is with us today, and he will be speaking about justice, equity, and compassion. Bonnie Whitehurst brings us her musical talents, and our behind-the-scenes people, Tommy Frame and Kathy Hopkins, use their time and technology putting this virtual service together. We begin today with words by Ian Riddle. Do you hear that voice calling you, calling us? That voice which calls us together here today, made holy by our presence and by the sacred breath in our singing and speaking and silence. That voice which calls us to remember that we are not alone, that we are inextricably linked to all life, woven into a vast tapestry of existence of which we are a powerful, integral, and holy part. And just as we have been called here together here today, we act as the voice, the heart, and the hands of another call. The call to walk with wanderers, sing and dance with worshipers, proclaim the memory of those who have taken their leave, wrap the despairing and broken in the arms of love and community, and hold the hands of all of us who have broken our vows and call us back again and again to the covenant and work of justice, humility, and steadfast faithfulness. For this, we are here together today. So, my friends, come yet again. Come, let us worship together. May we begin this service with the chalice lighting and the words of Eileen Lawal. Outside of the flames of fear, we rise with the courage of our deepest convictions to stand for justice, inclusion, and peace. Out of the flames of scrutiny, we rise to proclaim our faith with hope to heal a fractured and hurting world. Out of the flames of doubt, we rise to embrace the mystery, wonder, and awe of all there is and all that is yet to be. Out of the flames of hate, we rise with the force of love, love that celebrates our shared humanity. Out of the flames, we rise.
Hello, nice to see everyone again. I wanted to share a short poem by Shel Silverstein with you this morning. It's titled No Difference. Small as a peanut, big as a giant, we're all the same size when we turn off the light. Rich as a sultan, poor as a mite, we're all worth the same when we turn off the light. Red, black, or orange, yellow or white, we're all worth the same when we turn off the light. So maybe the way to make everything right is for God to just reach out and turn off the light. So ends the story.
What is America to me? A name, a map, a flag I see, a certain word, democracy. What is America to me? The house I live in, a plot of earth, a street, the grocer and the butcher, and the people that I meet, the children on the playground, the faces that I see, all races and religions, that's America to me. freedom's fight began, of Gettysburg and Midway, and the story of Bataan. The house I live in, my neighbors white and black, the people who just came here or from generations back, the town hall and the soapbox, the torch of liberty, and the promise of tomorrow. That's America to me.
I wanted to share some words of wisdom today from William Sloane Coffin. He was the longtime minister of the liberal Christian Riverside Church in New York City. He writes, "Had I but one wish for the churches of America, I think it would be that they come to see the difference between charity and justice. Charity is a matter of personal attributes, justice a matter of public policy. Charity seeks to alleviate the effects of injustice. Justice seeks to eliminate the causes of it. Charity in no way affects the status quo, while justice leads inevitably to political confrontation. Especially, I would hope that Christians would see that the compassion that moved the Good Samaritan to act charitably, that same compassion prompted biblical prophets to confront injustice, to speak truth to power, as did Jesus, who, though more than a prophet, was certainly nothing less." Let us share together a moment of silence.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Stay in my heart
It's time for the offering for the work and the welfare of this church. Please go to our website, uutarpon.org, and click on the donate button. Or please send your checks to 57 Reed Street. The entire address is right there on your screen. And thank you.
We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. And we are singing, singing for our lives.
It isn't quite springtime just yet, but we are in a state of anticipation, awaiting a rebirth. We await the resurrection of a functioning, compassionate, empathetic, and honorable incarnation of government. Yet at the same time, we are faced with a serious dilemma, a conundrum of the first order. Shall we seek to hold those who have made a travesty of our laws, institutions, and norms legally accountable? Or shall we simply try to put all the scofflaw activity behind us and try to move toward some sense of national unity, of reconciliation? Prosecute or not? As I compose my thoughts, I don't know what the future holds, but I have been thinking about the second of our 7 Unitarian Universalist principles, the one that reads justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Over the years, I've heard several ministerial colleagues say something like this: the second principle is our most ignored principle because it's difficult for us to get our arms around it. The second principle to me seems to be a corollary to the first principle, our lead principle, which affirms a condition, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. To me, the second principle lifts up actions that support the first. The second helps to answer the question, how shall we go about affirming inherent worth and dignity? By promoting justice, equity, and compassion is one answer, but it's far from a precise, definitive answer to the question. We may very well have different ideas about what these terms mean, not to mention widely varying ideas about how to go about supporting them. Prosecute or not? It seems to me a worthy subject right now as we as a nation are absolutely going to struggle with anger and a desire for retribution against the other side. We as UUs are called to rise above the strife and honor everyone's worth and dignity. Yet we will not agree on how to proceed to prosecute or not. The coming weeks, months, and years are not going to be easy in this regard. One answer is to take a close look at our second principle, justice, equity, and compassion, and that is what I seek to do today. So how shall we, as individual UUs, support the formation of justice, equity, and compassion? And even more fundamentally, what do we mean by justice, equity, and compassion? My answers may differ from how you would answer these questions, and that's okay. What I see as important is that we devote both thought and spiritual energy to reflecting on these issues, and that may lead us towards some coherence in our views on the second principle, which may in turn help us navigate the inevitable conflicts that we face. Justice, equity, and compassion are objects of action. We will exhibit compassion, empathy, as we work for justice, for an equitable society. But what do we mean by agreeing to affirm and to promote? And what about these objects, justice, equity, and compassion? Note that we are not saying merely to believe in or wish for or pray for justice, nor do we say that we agree to fight for justice. Rather, we agree to be active in seeking justice and equity, somewhere in between being passive and belligerent. If we are to pursue justice and equity actively, we cannot isolate ourselves from the larger community and simply sit around on Sunday mornings being sympathetic to those suffering injustices, wishing inequities away. Theodore Parker was one of the great Unitarian preachers and theologians of the 19th century. Parker avowed this elegant thought: the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Some ascribe this aphorism to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but he actually borrowed it from Parker. Most of us do not believe that divine power bends morality ever so slowly toward justice. The bending is neither automatic nor inexorable. Humans are the agents of justice and hence injustice. Bending toward justice depends on people who feel compassion and equity and justice as imperatives of their faith. Wishing won't work. Parker's statement was a confession, really, of faith in humanity to cause that arc to bend. Our second principle provides a path, a plan for us to do our part in pushing, heaving together on that arc to make it bend toward justice. Much as we might like to divorce religion and politics from one another, we cannot both live up to our principles and ignore what is going on in the wider society. And this, by the way, is one way that we can transport our religion into the public square. We need to participate in both. And remember to bring a sense of ethics and justice with you. And let us undertake less visible tasks as well, from writing letters to the editor, writing checks to institutions committed to justice, and so forth. These kinds of faith-based activities are voluntary, and more importantly, they are, for us, based much more on a sense of moral imperative and not really on any sense of guilt on our parts. Years ago, a journalist asked Mother Teresa about life's ultimate meaning. Her answer: to become holy and to go to heaven. The late Reverend Eugene Pickett, then president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, answered that meaning of life question like this: the purpose of life is to become whole and to create a heaven on earth. Religion comprises a core, a tapestry of ultimate meaning and values from which we live our lives. A goodly part of our Unitarian Universalist core is to be for others, a key expression of our spirituality and our ethics. The Reverend Dick Gilbert sums it up this way: in the love of beauty and the spirit of truth, we unite for the celebration of life and the service of humanity. The service of humanity as an organized corporate endeavor that transcends individual efforts, affirming and promoting our more than wishing. We are called to affirm and promote, to work together. Let me take up justice, equity, and compassion individually in reverse order. Compassion can be seen as a spiritual value that is the foundation of UU ethics. Another past UU president, William Schultz, wrote this: spirituality is the inspiration for all politics which redeems. For once I have looked on the abundance of creation, I cannot rest while others, caught up in its flaws, are deprived of the view. Of course, there are times when about the only thing we can do in response to another's pain is to share it. There is an old encouraging saying: sorrow shared is sorrow halved. We as Unitarian Universalists seek to create caring communities to help all of us grapple with life's joys and sorrows. Compassion is present within our beloved religious communities, but it needs to reach beyond our doors as well. Dick Gilbert asks this question: how can we presume to understand our society without deep feelings of moral outrage at the pervasiveness of suffering and injustice? Compassion is a form of connectedness with others who share our humanity. UU minister David Rice Williams wrote this: we are joined together by a mystic oneness whose source we may never know, but whose reality we can never doubt. We are our neighbor's keeper because that neighbor is but our larger self. Behold, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, because thy neighbor is thyself. Equity does not imply some sort of communist-inspired scheme of everybody putting their stuff in a great big pile and then handing out items, one per customer, so that everyone has equal amounts of everything. Equity does not imply precisely equal shares. There should be rewards for taking true risks, for invention and innovation. But distribution, while unequal, should be fair. We're not talking about everyone being the same. Equity implies fairness, not sameness. Fairness is not built into the operation of free markets. Should religious values, ethics for UUs, have some influence on the operation of amoral markets? We pretty much agree that we need to treat people fairly without regard to race, creed, gender, affectional orientation, or physical or mental ability. We're not perfect, but we have made strides in this area. However, the idea of equity in the economic sphere is a far pricklier problem, I believe. There is a creative tension between absolute equality and equity as fairness. We might say that we achieve fairness when inequality helps those who are least capable of competing in society's marketplace. Unfortunately, any formula for fairness is elusive at best. But let us remember that the biblical prophets routinely excoriated both the rich for their indifference to the poor and the poor for failing to organize. Equity and fairness are qualitative concepts which call for debate and negotiation, and not an ethical capitulation because answers aren't simply obvious. Finally, there is justice, arguably also an eye of the beholder phenomenon. Justice needs to be systemic and not a system of handouts intended to reduce suffering. To seek justice is to seek corrections to the social forces that lead to suffering. Our compassion is a personal moral value, while justice deals with the larger social context. Justice implies an equitable distribution of both social benefits and burdens. A just allocation of resources has some basis in need, not greed. Theodore Parker wrote, "There is a hole in the dim-lit public bridge where many fall through and perish. Our mercy pulls a few out of the water. It does not stop the hole, nor light the bridge, nor warn of the peril. Any of these changes would represent a just improvement." Parker went on, "We need the great charity that palliates the effects of wrong and the greater justice which removes the cause. Treat the symptoms, but also fix the underlying system." What is unfortunate about justice as well as equity and compassion is that these are all virtues that transcend ways we make social decisions, as through democratic processes and free market allocations. Democratic voting and the medical marketplace, for example, have left millions of Americans with inadequate health care. Yet I believe that justice requires that we meet the basic health care needs of all Americans. The Affordable Care Act seeks health care justice, but it is imperfect and needs mending. Justice cannot be determined or brought to realization by democratic vote or market mechanics. A flaw in the ACA or a natural shortcoming of the political order? I don't know. But I do know our second principle calls for action, both individual and collective. That great moral arc may bend toward justice, but only if we put our spiritual muscle to it. We must dig in our heels and find ways to heave together, especially in days to come. But how will all of this play out? Shall we prosecute or not? Frankly, I'm not sure. But I have some idea about what should guide us. And that, in America, is to promote the justice, equity, and compassion that we Unitarian Universalists hold dearly. May that be so. And amen.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor, both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience with justice by guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race.
Our closing words come from Jim McGaw. He writes, "When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace seeking justice. I mean go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. May that be so, and amen.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the light of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. I hope that you found meaning in today's service. Again, I invite you to consider joining us sometime on Sunday morning when we gather for worship as a community. The service starts at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom. You are also welcome to drop into our Zoom room coffee hour any Sunday at 11:30 for friendly conversation. If you are new to the area or just learning about Unitarian Universalism, we'd love to meet you in one of our newcomer discussions, which are held on the second Sunday of each month at 12:15. Please refer to our website for more information on how to connect with us on Zoom. If you use the Connect Online button, it will take you directly to any of our activities. We look forward to meeting you.